In the entertainment industry, we have been conditioned to believe a very specific lie. It is a lie whispered by every judge on every talent show, echoed in the montages of tears and triumph, and cemented in our minds every time we vote for a winner. The lie is this: if you do not win this singing competition, your dream is over. The runner-up is forgotten. The semi-finalist fades back into the obscurity of the shower singing amateur. But every so often, a performer comes along who breaks the algorithm entirely, forcing us to ask, what if the real prize was never the trophy? What if losing on television was actually the best thing that could have happened? This is the story of Lucy Thomas. You might remember her as the shy 14-year-old from Wigan who appeared on The Voice Kids UK in 2018. Or, more likely, you do not remember her from the show at all. Yet, today, Lucy Thomas has accumulated over 1.5 billion views on YouTube, released 5 studio albums, performed in the West End, and built an empire that most winners of reality TV would kill for. So, what really happened? How did the girl who didn't win become one of the most streamed voices of her generation? The answer is a masterclass in how to beat the system by never playing by its rules. To understand the magnitude of Lucy's success, we have to look at the starting line. It is 2018, and the Thomas family from Wigan, Lancashire, is navigating normal life. Lucy is just 14 years old, a rugby league fan with a love for musical theatre and classic ballads, an unusual genre choice for a teenager in the age of pop autotune. When she auditions for The Voice Kids UK, she is not the typical belter. She walks onto the stage with a quiet, almost nervous demeanor. She looks like a student about to give a book report, not a pop star. But then she opens her mouth to sing Moon River. The reaction is immediate and electric. Pixie Lott and Danny Jones, of McFly, slam their buzzers, spinning their chairs around almost before she finishes the first verse. They are captivated. But the most telling reaction comes from the legendary Black Eyed Peas frontman, will.i.am. He does not turn his chair. For most contestants, this would be a crushing blow. But will.i.am later explains his inaction not as a rejection, but as awe. He famously tells the young Lucy that her voice was perfect and flawless. He admits that he didn't turn because he was simply listening, mesmerized by the purity of the sound. Lucy chooses to join Team Danny, bonding over their shared love for the Wigan Warriors Rugby Club. She sails through the battles and the knockouts. The nation watches as this quiet girl delivers powerhouse performances that seem to come from a soul far older than her years. She reaches the semi-finals. The dream is so close. And then, it ends. She does not make it to the final. The judges hug her. The audience claps politely. The cameras stop rolling. On paper, Lucy Thomas is just another "Where Are They Now?" footnote in reality TV history. The show moved on. But the world was about to receive a clue that Lucy was playing a much deeper game. Here is the first clue that failure on The Voice was a blessing in disguise: the autonomy clause. Unlike the winners of these shows, who are usually shackled to multi-year, restrictive record deals with the show's sponsors, deals that often shelve artists while the hype dies down, Lucy remained free. Because she didn't win, there was no mandatory contract forcing her to release generic, rushed pop albums. She was a semi-finalist, which meant she was famous enough to have an audience, but free enough to choose her partners. Within months of the show ending, Lucy was not begging for scraps from major labels. She was approached by Cavendish Records, an independent label known for respecting the artist's creative control. This was clue number 2, the genre pivot. Most young singers from talent shows are forced to release dance pop bangers to appeal to the youth market. Lucy rejected that. Instead, she leaned hard into classical crossover and musical theater, the very genres the show's producers might have told her were too old for her demographic. Clue number 3, and perhaps the most significant indicator that something strange was happening, was the YouTube strategy. While other contestants were doing radio tours, Lucy and her team started filming high-quality, audio-pristine videos of her singing covers. But they didn't film them in sterile studios. They filmed them in cathedrals, in concert halls, and with live orchestras. The visual aesthetic was not reality star, it was timeless diva. The first major proof of concept was her cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. This song has been done to death. Everyone from X Factor winners to buskers have murdered this song with excessive screaming and melisma. Lucy did the opposite. She sang it with a purity and restraint that was haunting. The result? 61 million views. 61 million people skipped past the winners of television shows to listen to the girl who lost the semi-final. Then came Unchained Melody, which racked up 8 million views. Then I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables, which added another 2.1 million. The clues were adding up to a single, undeniable truth: the television show had introduced Lucy to the UK. But the internet had introduced Lucy Thomas to the world. Her audience wasn't limited to the ITV time slot, it spanned across America, Europe, and Asia. She had amassed 1.04 million subscribers on YouTube, a number that continues to grow daily. It would be easy to look at the numbers, the billions of views, the 5 albums, the West End debut, and assume that Lucy Thomas walked away from The Voice unscathed, smiling as she counted her streaming royalties. But this is where the story takes its emotional turn. We have to ask, what was the cost, and more importantly, what was the doubt? Imagine being 14 years old. You go on national television. You bare your soul through song. The judges call you flawless. And yet, the public does not vote you through. The public stops. There is a specific psychological horror to being a semi-finalist. You are good enough to be on TV, but not beloved enough to win. For a teenage girl, that rejection, even if polite, cuts deep. For a long time, the silence after the show must have been deafening. There is a moment in the rise of any internet-based artist where they have to make a choice: quit or double down. For Lucy, the road was lonely. While her peers were going to school discos and rugby matches, she was in recording booths and practice rooms. The pressure of maintaining perfection on YouTube, where the comment section can be brutally toxic, is immense. She was not just singing for 3 judges anymore, she was singing for 1.5 billion potential critics. Furthermore, the musical theater voice is notoriously difficult to sustain. The emotional weight of songs like I Dreamed a Dream requires channeling the despair of Victor Hugo's Fantine. To sing that at 20 years old, with the weight of failed reality TV expectation on your shoulders, must feel like a catharsis and a wound simultaneously. The emotional core of Lucy's story isn't tragedy, it is resilience. It is the story of a young woman who looked at the closed door of the TV finals and decided to build her own stage. The tears that might have been shed in the taxi home from the studio in 2018 have long since dried, replaced by the steely focus of someone who knows that real art is a marathon, not a sprint. So, what is the final truth of Lucy Thomas? The truth is that Lucy Thomas is the ultimate dark horse of the digital age. She has achieved what many thought impossible: she has outsold and outstreamed the winners of her season by rejecting the pop star pipeline entirely. Let's look at the hard data. By 2025, Lucy Thomas is no longer a former contestant. She is a fully fledged recording artist. She has released 5 studio albums: Premiere, 2019, Encore, Timeless, Destiny, and Beyond. She is a featured artist on the Rosie the Musical, original studio cast recording. Her music is not disposable, it is archival. The ultimate vindication came in October 2024. Lucy Thomas, the girl who couldn't make it to the final of a singing contest, made her West End debut at the historic Theatre Royal Drury Lane. This was not a secondary stage or a charity gala. This was the big time. Andrew Lloyd Webber's theatre. A 30-piece orchestra. A 36-year-old conductor named Robert Guy making his West End debut alongside her. It was a full-circle moment. The judges on The Voice had turned their chairs for her potential. In London, the audience stood up for her reality. The truth is that The Voice operates on a flawed premise. It assumes that the judges' blind ears are the ultimate arbiters of taste. But Lucy proved that the viewer's heart is the only arbiter that matters. She realized that television is linear, it ends at 9 p.m. But the internet is forever. By bypassing the radio gatekeepers, by not trying to be cool or trendy, and by just singing with devastating honesty, Lucy Thomas hacked the system. She did not need a winner's contract. She needed a YouTube channel and a piano. The impact of Lucy Thomas's journey extends far beyond her own bank account or streaming numbers. She has fundamentally changed how young singers perceive the voice. For years, the red chair was the holy grail. Now, for many, it is just a stepping stone and perhaps not even the most important one. Lucy's legacy is the permission she grants to other artists to be authentic. In an era of viral TikTok dances and auto-tuned mumbles, Lucy Thomas is a purist. She looks like the girl next door from Wigan, but she sings like a ghost from a golden age. Her success proves that there is a massive, hungry, and underserved market for beauty. Not hype. Not controversy. Just beauty. Her cover of Unchained Melody is a perfect case study of this impact. In 2025, when the video dropped, it didn't feature fancy effects or shocking twists. It featured Lucy, standing in a controlled setting, singing a melody written over half a century ago. It crushed the algorithm. It went viral not because of a meme, but because a mother in Ohio shared it with her daughter, and a grandfather in Sydney watched it with tears in his eyes. Lucy Thomas has quietly built a career that is the envy of every reality show winner. She has longevity, respect, and artistic freedom. The girl who lost the semi-final is teaching the music industry a hard lesson. Winning the trophy is a moment. Winning the audience is a lifetime ***. Today, as she prepares for sold-out shows and releases new music in 2025, Lucy Thomas is no longer Lucy from The Voice. She is simply Lucy Thomas, the voice that refused to be silenced by a rejection slip. And that, perhaps, is the happiest ending of all.